Hello, welcome to this sixth video in this series I have entitled Story Time with Tree. I'm not sharing about my entire life, but bits and pieces that I feel carry a frequency to assist me in a spell breaking of sorts, a hypnotic spell breaking through my life's mission and sharing these things. So, something I didn't mention though that I wanted to mention is my first word was bird. And so one of my nicknames eventually became Bird. At some point, somehow, some way, Bird transformed into Bert. And I was convinced this was my name. So when I went to school the first time, like preschool, and they ask you if you, I mean, and really we're so young at that point, they most likely ask our parents first, but they still probably gave the opportunity. But I would suggest it every year. When a teacher says, "Is there a nickname that you would like to be called by?" And I would say, "Yes, Bert." And they wouldn't do it. It's like as soon as I went to school, any part of me being me, they were like, "No." And I know I'm not alone in that. I'm not saying like, "Woe is me, it was only me." But yeah, so let me continue because that's gonna play in some ways with how I sort of viewed myself to a degree. So far, I've shared from about 1988 when I was born to 1994-ish. So about ages 0 to 6. Like we're getting there. We're in the kindergarten year. And school was weird. In kindergarten, I was always trying to sneak out. And my goal was to open random classroom doors and shout the word alien. So I would do that. That's what I would do. I'd walk around and I'd be like, aliens. I felt people needed to get used to the idea, the word. I already knew by age 5 and 6 that there were certain words that held what people might call triggers now. As a kid, I just called everybody under spells. Like I was like, oh my God, it's like magic words to break spells. And people are under a spell when they do not like the word you are saying, and there's no reason for them to really be that upset about it or care that much. So, yeah, I felt certain words were triggers for spells and that things would become pressurized when certain words were spoken. Um, People did not like the word alien in the 90s. I can't speak to how they felt about it before then because I wasn't alive, but in the 90s, just hearing the word alien it would make people recoil. Most people. It was rare to find anyone who would want to like talk about stuff. They'd call you crazy or stupid or just for saying it. Not even you wouldn't even have to expand on it. You could literally just say the word alien and people would be like from across the room, they'd be like, "Don't say that. You're crazy." And that's for me, I was like, "Oh, everybody's under a spell because why would you be so cued into this word to go, no, shut up. Shh, we don't talk about that. They wouldn't even hear what you had to say. Or if you were trying to like reference a TV show or a movie about something, like everything was just swept up into that. Like it's all fake. You're just talking about this TV or movie. Don't you realize that that's where you got these ideas from? Um, so well, and people would reference shows or movies that they had not even seen to justify why other people were talking about aliens at all. And this is a commonality in spaces where people will go, "Oh, look at all these movies and TV shows about aliens and look how far back it goes. Clearly it's a like a psyop." And some of it, yeah, like the way an alien might look, you could say, or how people would experience this uh energy. So if you said the word aliens, it was dismissed, scoffed at, feared, laughed at, and this felt important to me. This felt important especially for the year 2020 and beyond. And mind you, this was 1994. And I noticed how many TV shows and movies were about aliens, but not the way that I interpreted them. For me, it's always been more of an energy. Um, aside from the lizard people that I could see, side note, there was this video store we used to go to, and and I forget if I already mentioned this. I'm trying to be clear and short, but I've also shared about these things so often. It all sort of is a blur to a degree in terms of exactly what I shared. But there was a video store we would go to, and the guy that worked there, when he would turn around, he had a tail and this like textured skin, and I would be like, oh, he must not know he's like a lizard person because otherwise he would be like cloaking his whole body. But he must truly just believe he's a human, so he's got the front covered. But when it comes to being around other people, I can totally see you, dude. Um, he also had this porn room. Like there was porn videos you could rent, but there was a little room and it was shady to me. I was like, when my dad would go in there and I would see all these colors and shapes energetically coming out of it. And there was like a little curtain. I was like, are they watching stuff back there? Like, that's sick. Like, this is weird. This whole place is weird, is how I thought. And this whole place being Earth, not just that store. And I do remember being at that store and feeling this like obsession with why I thought Looney Tunes was spelled Toons, but that it was tunes. And I was like, they don't really sing songs, do they? And I mean, that is like if you go look it up, that's the basis of it. It is literally based on tunes, Tunes. But it was funny, when like Mandela effect stuff. Well, not funny to me. Funny, but also like, what the fuck is my life? Because when I was little, no one wanted to hear about it. And I swore that it used to be Toons. I was like, yeah, cartoons, tunes. And I get it. I get it. But there's a layer of this place that I feel like time is not linear, but also some of us were having experiences in the 90s that some people are only starting to have in the years after 2020. Almost like little me was right about some stuff. Um, so I almost felt like this video store carried a certain energy in that I had these experiences there with like noticing things, but also seeing things and feeling like I don't know, before the internet was up and bumping a little bit more, and not that it's the best thing ever, but along with the internet came more quick moving things, and our minds are very quick in certain ways. And so time just felt so slow, like day after day. So there was something about the movie store that sometimes felt fun, but other times it also felt like, why are we all doing this and not talking about aliens more? I don't know. Okay, so one movie that was about aliens that I had seen, not it. I mean, I'd seen it at this point, but no one had me watch it. I snuck and watched it. And I think I was actually, this was prior to kindergarten that I watched this movie, but it's called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And it was terrifying. And so you can see Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I was terrified of clowns. And I was going to say partially, maybe mostly convinced that clowns were bad aliens. You should have seen me at like a circus. I'd be like, I'm not taking that flower, you bad alien. Things that I remember, but that would just go unnoticed by most other people as like a little kid being weird or whatever. But yeah. I said, these clowns are the bad aliens that are always trying to bring me down. Remember, I mentioned that I'd shake my fist and I'd say, you're not gonna get me down, bad aliens. A movie not about aliens. And I forget what year this came out exactly and when I actually saw it, but it was by the time I was in kindergarten-ish. Actually, let me look right now. When I feel like mm, never mind, I'm having a I was gonna say a mouth fart, but that sounds gross. Okay, yeah, 93 is when Grumpy Old Men came out. So probably saw it not in theaters, but on video somewhere. And I thought, I'm a grumpy old man inside. And it was from that moment on that I started saying, I'm a grumpy old man inside. At some point, it became sassy old gay man, but that was closer to 1999. Um, but yeah. I was like, I'm like a grumpy old man on the inside. And I already felt kind of like sad and alone and just grumpy about waiting for the year 2020 because things felt so slow. And then now in kindergarten, my teacher wanted my mom to look at my journal that I had been writing and drawing in because of what I was drawing. And if you're not familiar with a movie series called Puppet Masters, or Puppet Master, then you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But by the time I was in kindergarten, I just loved those movies. I was weird and also not like full on neglected, but left alone to my own devices enough that, like, yeah, I saw a lot of movies and stuff maybe I shouldn't have. But again, I had already had this experience at age 1 where I was like, the year 2020, that's what I'm here for, and some other stuff. But like, I'm seeing things other people aren't seeing. So the movies maybe didn't help with all of that in my imaginatory world or whatever, but whatever. I found like this sweet tenderness in scary things because scary movies, I was like, oh, it's just a movie. But I'm really afraid of bad aliens. Like feeling like terrified that there was something sort of like watching me all the time and knew that I remembered stuff and also everything here felt even just a little off. That was scary to me. But a little stabby, stabby, chasey, chasey, I was like, yeah, scary, but not in the same way. Although I can see how movies, especially like horror movies and these things, feed into people's psyches in different ways. Mind you, for those of us who had different kinds of trauma going on, like I was also like physically and verbally abused. And so that was worse to me. Like feeling like not safe in my house felt a lot worse than watching a scary movie. Um, and so yeah, I had drawn one of the characters in my journal with his knife blade. He had a hat and this trench coat and kind of looked like a skeleton. I loved him. I was like, he's a good guy. And my teacher wanted, I guess, my mom to see it, like a little concerned maybe. But I loved Blade also because he brought in like this Hatman energy, and I feel Hatman is an interdimensional theme here on this Earth plane, which I will talk about at some point because that comes in when I was sick, when I was 14. But yeah, so I've always sort of found some cute energy with things that are scary, but not like I love things that were just scary. But you know, again, here my thing was like, oh, stabby puppets that come to life and kill people and stuff. Like there's sometimes the good guys though, okay? Not scary. Grumpy old men, obviously not scary. Killer clowns from outer space, don't like it. Then there was also the show Doug, which had come on, I think it was 1991, which was the first year it aired, but we didn't have cable. So by the time we got cable, I watched it and I was like, I don't like this Roger character. Because not only clearly was Doug about some alien stuff, but also Roger was green. It reminded me of a lizard person. Not all lizard people, okay, are the same. But this is just how I felt when I was little. Because there's this layer of kids shows and just here in general in society where there's like this encouragement where it's cool to not care. It's cool to be mean. It's funny to be mean and to make fun of people. People love that. Um, so yeah, I just felt like I was aware of these layers and I would pay attention to which characters like my sisters and my friends liked to just get an idea of how much these things were influencing like certain energetic templates that we carry, and not that it's all about like TV movie bad, but that like there is a lot that our sensory bodies are taking on that can influence us. I would say actually the worst thing that influences people is like love and romance stuff. Not that love isn't amazing, but like people are clearly under spells when it comes to love and romance and like the amount of it in TV and movies. To me, it just becomes clear that it's not necessarily all authentic and genuine. It's a script of sorts, or it's an influence where like you're supposed to do these things in society. But really maybe our subconscious is just being affected by not only Hollywood and media and entertainment that eventually at some point becomes entrainment, but also this layer of what I feel this multidimensional plane is, where when we suppress something, sometimes those things become like unspoken social taboo, and all it takes is speaking about something, and people don't often actually voice certain things when it comes to I don't know, a lot of the things that I guess I'm bringing up there when it comes to like characters placed in things to be like it's cool not to care, because I hate that energy. You know, call me a nerd, call me a sensitive baby. That's fine. I just dislike the idea that at some point being cool is real at all, because we're either all cool or we're all uncool. All right, that's all I'm going to say today.